Welcome to the Dogtor Bros, where we have an honest discussion around vet life in and out of the clinic. My name is Brandon, and I'm your doc of the day, and I'll be your guide through this episode. I'm a small animal internal medicine resident out at Iowa State University in Ames, Iowa, and I'm here with some of my closest friends from vet school.
Hey, this is Chris. I'm a GP in North Carolina.
Hey, this is Jeff. I'm a dermatology associate working in Louisville, Kentucky.
And today we're joined by Dr. Megan and Dr. Kelsey. They are the founders of Veterinary Ventures CE. Dr. Kelsey attended Western University of Health Sciences in LA, where she earned her DVM, and she stayed in California and completed a 1-year small animal internship. And Dr. Kelsey now lives in Nashville and is a GP, and she enjoys traveling with her husband and 2 sons, as well as hiking and yoga. And then Dr. Megan achieved her undergraduate degree at West Virginia University and continued her education by getting her DVM at Western as well. It was at vet school where Dr. Kelsey and Dr. Megan met, became friends, best friends, and started Veterinary Ventures CE in May of 2023. And Dr. Megan currently lives in Denver, Colorado, where she works as an ER vet, and she enjoys riding her horses, hiking with her dog, gardening, traveling, and a good glass of red wine, as do I. Welcome to the Dogtor Bros.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're excited. Well, as I mentioned, I'm currently in the last throes of my internal medicine residency here. So we're going to just play kind of a little icebreaker warm-up game. We've done this one before. It's called Pick Your Poison. But we're going to do a little IM spin on it. So we'll just keep it, we're all vets here. We'll keep it vet related. First one. So the way the game works, I'm going to give you kind of a general set of 2 different scenarios, and you have to pick your poison. Both of them are not going to be ideal. So we'll start. We'll start with the first one. So you get a consult on the schedule. It's one of 2 things that you read when you're looking at the schedule. The first one says Yorkie with pot belly, appearance, diarrhea since the new year. And then the second one is Border Collie not eating, black stool, owner treated with ibuprofen at home. So of those 2, whoever wants to go first, what would you rather see?
I already know what Megan's answer is going to be. She's at ER. I'll hang out with the Border Collie.
This is Jeff, and I'm going to take the Yorkie, and you know what? We're just going to make it work. We're going to do a lot of labs probably, and some testing, and I'm going to call my buddy Brandon, and we're going to figure out what we need to do.
This is Kelsey, and I think I'm going to take the Yorkie. I work in an area of Nashville that comes with a lot of Yorkies and Malteses and purse pets, so I see a lot of that. So I'm going to go for the Yorkie.
And this is Chris. I'm going to go with the Border Collie. Just figure that one out. The Yorkie just seems more complicated for me.
And this is Megan. I will also be going with the Border Collie. Sounds more up my alley, and I love herding dogs.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met an ER vet that was excited about chronic diarrhea.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next one, you're doing a workup on a patient. Nothing specific here, but would you rather have one lab that comes back that says your hematocrit's 12%, or would you rather have a patient where the labs come back and the ALT is 3,000?
This is Jeff. Let me get that dog that needs the blood transfusion, probably. I'm panicked. However, once upon a time during my rotating internship, I did a lot of ER stuff. I did a couple blood transfusions. I'm like, I'll figure it out. I am not interested in that ALT. You can keep that.
This is Kelsey. I see that ALT of 3,000 literally every day. So I'll take that one. I'll take that one. We get a lot of that crazy stuff. And if it has a hematocrit of 12, I'm literally shoving it out the door. So I don't want that. Or maybe I would take that and then I'd just transfer it.
Hey, this is Chris. So I don't like either of those options. So I would probably go with Kelsey's route and take in the Yorkie or the hematocrit of 12 and then boot it over to emergency because they both sound terrible.
And then this is Megan. I will take the hematocrit of 12 and do the blood transfusion.
Yeah, and I didn't answer for the first one. I'd honestly be fine seeing all of these. I'd probably pick the Yorkie. GI is my bread and butter, and yeah, I'd probably take the personally. I'd probably take the hematocrit of 12% too, because yeah, blood transfusion first things first, and then we could figure it out after that.
Were you just describing a Tuesday for you, Brandon?
For the second one, for sure. I don't really see the toxicity stuff, but yeah, by the time I get something that had a hematocrit of 12%, it already had a blood transfusion. Usually.
Oh.
And then I usually end up having to give another one if it's depending on what the problem is.
Oh.
All right, so last one. So this is like you're the owner. So would you rather own a diabetic dog, but the dog is a Great Dane? Or would you rather own a doodle, but it has chronic refractory IMHA and is on chronic meds for management?
I hate this.
Man, Chris's face is just in disbelief.
This is Jeff. I guess I'll take the doodle because literally it's just smaller. Like maybe its meds will be cheaper because it's a smaller animal. God.
This is Kelsey. I'm going to pick the same thing. I hate diabetes, and the cost of the medicine for that Great Dane is just going to I'm going to have to eat ramen forever. So I'll take the doodle.
Yeah, the insulin. Jesus.
Yeah.
This is Chris. IMHA dog, I guess. They both sound terrible.
And then this is Megan. I'm gonna jump on the doodle train too. Looks like we're all getting doodles.
Oh man,
that is not a sentence I ever thought I would hear ever.
Yeah. I mean that's a tough pill to swallow with the diabetic Dane. That's a lot of insulin. Anyway, all right, cool. Well, I'm glad you all got a little taste of medicine. I am in the throes of board study, and I have just been reading about things all day long, and I'm very excited to talk to you guys. So, today, again, we're talking to Dr. Megan and Dr. Kelsey in their recent endeavor, the Veterinary Ventures CE. This is a good topic. I think continuing education is really important. I view things a lot differently after going through even just residency now. Like there's just so many different things that I didn't realize how deficient I was in, like going into my first year of residency, and just not everyone can do the residency and the grueling hours, and you have to get accepted and so on and so forth. But if you have a good continuing education program where you can get quality continuing education and strengthen your ability as a veterinarian down the road, that's important. Obviously, a lot of licensing requirements require additional CE every so many years. And I think one of the hard things with CE is sometimes it can be boring. Sometimes, it's taking up a lot of your time. I personally don't have kids in a family, but I know that that's a challenge. And I know that's something that Dr. Megan and Kelsey are passionate about, are going to talk about more. But I think it's really cool that you guys have this this new endeavor. So before we get into it, we always ask our guests, what got you into veterinary medicine?
So this is Megan. I'm kind of your classic story. So I've known I wanted to be a veterinarian forever. My grandparents had a dairy farm growing up. So I've been around animals since I was tiny. I always looked at the veterinarians that came out to the farm, and I saw them with envy, and I loved what they did. And I became totally fascinated by it. And so from a very young age, I knew that this was going to be my path.
This is Kelsey. I am not such a classic path. I wanted to be a marine biologist, like all good millennials. And so I moved out to Southern California and got a degree in marine science in San Diego, and then realized I didn't want to do research anymore. So it was probably my senior year of undergrad that I started becoming interested in vet med. How could I stay in the sciences? And so from there, I kind of found an interest in veterinary medicine, thought I wanted to do maybe marine mammal medicine. Then I realized there's one marine mammal vet in the United States, probably at SeaWorld, and they would have to die before I could take that job. So then I kind of just looked other places in veterinary medicine and fell in love with just small animal GP. So a little roundabout way to get there, but always loved animals.
No, that's cool. I love marine biology. I was a zoology major myself in undergrad, and just the idea of doing something like aquatics veterinary medicine or marine mammal medicine is just so niche and so cool. But yeah, how do you even get trained in doing that?
Yeah, between undergrad and vet school, I was in Hong Kong for 6 months doing some research out there for marine science, but also working with the vets out there. It's like a combination between a SeaWorld and like a theme park. And I was following them around, and it's an amazing job. And there's probably 3 vets there, but just that niche of going into that, it's always fascinated me, but kind of like so hard to get there and a lot of hurdles to cross. And so it's kind of just a passion, but not my, real life job.
Sure. No, that's really cool. And then I guess no large animal veterinary medicine for you, Megan?
So I actually did an equine internship coming out of vet school. And then I had a big plot twist and I went into shelter medicine for a while. And I love shelter medicine. It was something that really filled my cup. But then COVID happened and I had to plot twist again, and I went into emergency, and that's where I've been for about the last 4 years.
Gotcha. Well, as far as like the big topic, what really got you guys like thinking about starting a veterinary continuing education company?
This is Megan. So the company kind of all came about because Kelsey and I loved to meet up and like keep our friendship and our relationship alive after vet school. And we would typically use these CE, like destination CEs, to do that. And so, right after vet school, it was a little bit easier. Kelsey didn't have her children at that point, and COVID hadn't happened. And then once COVID happened, Kels had her children over that time frame. And so kind of when everything simmered, we were able to go to Curacao for a CE event. And we were sitting there and just kind of talking about how important it is to continue those adventures and to continue to foster those relationships in ways that we thought it could potentially grow and we could make a CE that was maybe even a little bit better than the one we were at.
This is Kelsey. One of the big things that we wanted to have for our company, as we were sitting there on the beach talking about how we could start a CE company, was why do people go to CE and what do they want out of it? And just coming out of COVID, I think a lot of people were looking to make those real-time connections again. We were using CE as a way to like meet up with vet school friends that we hadn't seen in forever. People were using them to like bring their friends and family along on vacation, like bring your sister or your best friend with you. Or for me, since I had 2 kids over COVID, I was like, how can I get to traveling again? And how can I introduce them to travel again? Because they've never been outside our home. So that really formed the niche of what we wanted to do with our company, was make it a way to bring your family, bring your friends, make it family friendly, have activities that go along with the lectures. A big thing is we wanted half-day lectures, half-day spend time with your family, and do a lot of fun things while you're there. So make a vacation out of it too. And make it small enough to get to know the people who are lecturing with you, make those relationships, and get to know the people that you're sitting in lecture with as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it's like CE. I've been to some CE stuff with just medicine recently, and we haven't gone anywhere fancy for like the ACVIM conferences. But it is like my wife and I, we still like to enjoy where we go and immerse ourselves. And I love the idea of going somewhere exciting. Just where have you guys already had some CE events so far, and then kind of what's coming on the horizon?
This is Megan. So 2024 has been super fun so far. Our first one was in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic. It was beautiful. We had a great time. The speakers were fantastic. And then we just recently finished in April our second event, which was in Nashville. And again, the speakers were amazing. The location was great. We got to tour the Opry House, and we did a parents' night out with one of the local vet social clubs. We have another one coming up here in Denver this summer, and then in the fall we have St. Thomas.
Yeah, and then this is Kelsey. We are just starting to finalize everything for 2025. So one of the big things we wanted to ask the people that have been to our conferences so far or our veterinary connections is, where would you want to go for a conference? Where would you want to travel to? What makes it worth your small amount of CE money? And we got a kind of a dichotomy between, I want to stay in the US, and there was a big pull for national parks. A lot of people were interested in going to national parks and bringing their family to national parks, which makes sense. And then there was another big pull for the Caribbean again, because it's a great destination. So on the horizon for 2025 is Cancun, Punta Cana again, and then Zion, Jackson Hole / Grand Teton, and then Turks and Caicos, which we're really excited about.
That's so exciting. I like just this year alone, you have the St. Thomas, one of my, if not my favorite place in the world, and the Caribbean in general is like just my favorite region in the world. And then Denver, I'll always love Denver. I've lived there in the past. Well, I'll open things up to the rest of the group if you guys want to just jump in.
This is Jeff. First, I have a comment. First of all, I'm so pumped about this because I love speaking in general. And so if you need somebody to come speak and do dermatology, holla at your boy. I do CE and I love it. And I'm a very intentional speaker and I'm very pumped and excited. And I love talking to people. So I'm like, holler at your boy. I also love traveling. Like all of these, it's like music to my ears. I'm just sitting over here like bursting inside. I'm like, I want to go. Like Cancun. I'm like, I love Mexico. Let's go. But I did have a question. So you guys have like your normal jobs and then the CE company. So how do you balance the amount of extra work outside of your day jobs with your company? And I guess you don't have to like answer the second part necessarily, but have you thought about ever transitioning fully to the CE side? Or is the plan kind of to continue the current course?
This is Kelsey. Yeah, we are both working full-time. Myself as general practice, Megan as, ER. So I think that balance has been a little bit tough, but like you, we both love to travel. So this is a passion. So sometimes it doesn't even feel like work. I mean, it's work at the end of the day, but we both love traveling so much. I mean, who doesn't get excited to like go to the Caribbean 3 times a year? It's a tough balance, especially since I have 2 little boys as well, but you really just, you find time to make it happen. But that's not to say it hasn't been hard. Like every moment of my day is either filled with GP, my kids, or, working for Veterinary Ventures. But the goal is definitely to transition less GP, more Veterinary Ventures as time goes on. I think it might be a little while, but that's the long-term goal.
I think that's excellent. That sounds like a dream.
Yeah. And then this is Megan. For me, it's the same story. Long term, we're both hoping to make this our full-time job where we get to travel and put on these events and get to, hang out with people that we haven't seen since vet school and to learn new things and to meet all of these amazing specialists that we've already kind of gotten to talk to. Time-wise, it's kind of been fun because before we would chat once a week, every other week. Now we're talking every day. Whether it's in the car on the way to and from work, or she's picking up the boys, or I'm headed to the barn to go ride my horses. It's been kind of fun to keep all of that going too. So lots of work, lots of balance, right? Just trying to fit it all into the day. But at the end of the day, we both really enjoy it and we want it to succeed. So we just keep chipping away at it.
I think that's excellent. This is Jeff again. And the things that you guys mentioned kind of resonate with me as we even started this podcast, because I feel like it was kind of Adam and Chris's baby to start. Also, shout out to Adam. He's in producer mode, so he can see us, but he's not speaking. But it's been a lot of extra work, but it's a lot of fun. And it was a really great way for the four of us to connect, because we had we have our text chats and threads, but weren't connecting on a regular basis. And now we have like a regular, more or less schedule of reconnecting throughout the years, even though we haven't been in the same room for quite a while. So I really love that and love what you guys have been through. That's awesome.
This is Chris, and yeah, JT kind of took it out of my mouth of what I was going to say. There is definitely been able to reconnect with you guys and hang out more has been awesome with this podcast. So Kelsey and Megan, what has been the most difficult part of starting your own veterinary CE company, or kind of hoops you got to jump over or get through?
This is Kelsey. I think we kind of just, talked about the first one, just continuing your time management. We all got pretty good at that in vet school, but still just balancing the, new seasons of life, new things happening, relationships and kids and your first full-time job, and now adding this into the mix. So work-life balance has been the big challenge, but Megan and I being in different states on different time zones has been a little bit challenging, especially since I work a normal GP schedule and she works an ER schedule that can be overnight or swing shift or regular. So getting our schedules to line up, times of the day to line up, and only being able to see each other virtually starting a business that can be difficult. So those have been that's on my end, what I think has been most difficult.
And then this is Megan. I'll tag team on that a little bit. So I think everything she said, I totally agree with, but I also will throw in the mix that neither of us were business majors. So just kind of fumbling through all of the actual business aspects of it has been lots of lessons. There's been a little bit of trial and error, but it's been fun. It's been educational in a way that I don't think either of us really thought we would have.
This is Brandon again. Just out of curiosity, were you guys on or in VBMA in school or anything like that?
I was on the board of the VBMA. So I guess I had like that little experience with it, but honestly, I can't say that it really helped.
Yeah, I feel like it's just a taste of business stuff. We're not really getting formal training.
And it's like more geared towards practice ownership, but so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is Jeff again. What are some of the logistics for putting on one of your events? Like in broad strokes, I'm sure you could talk about it for hours, but what types of things do you have to get ready? Who do you have to coordinate with to put on these amazing events?
This is Kelsey. Megan and I have joked for a while now that she's like more of the big picture person and I'm like the detail oriented type A personality. So Megan will have these great ideas and kind of like the overarching scheme. And then I will be kind of the person to execute the minute details. And a lot more goes into it than, you think, but it's organization from finding the speakers, what topics do people want to hear. Then we really become event planners. Like it's almost like planning my wedding over and over and over again, which I joke that if I wasn't a veterinarian, I was going to be a wedding planner. So it works out pretty great to just put on these great events. How do you make the logistics of all of that work? And another one of the parts is getting our fun excursion, family-friendly excursion to go along with it. But I like to travel too, so just researching all these fun places is part of the logistics.
That makes sense. And immediately when you made those metaphors about you and Megan, I thought it was like, well, when Chris and I were planning for student rep things for Purina in school, Chris, I feel like you're big picture, big brain. And I'm like, okay, what are the nitty gritty, tiny little details about everything we have to do to make this work? And you're like, it'll all work out. Let's go. And I'm like, yeah, but. my list.
That's exactly it.
It's like this podcast at the same time.
Yes, I am nitty-gritty details and extremely detail-oriented.
Yeah, I'm kind of the one like making the to-do list and the checklist, and I've got my like clipboard and my binder, and Megan's the big brains behind all the big details and like the relationships and that kind of thing. It works out really well for us.
This is Megan. I think it's been like that since vet school, though. So at Western, we did these PBL-based groups, and Kelsey and I would study together since our first year of vet school. And it was the same thing there. I'd be like, oh, look, this is the ology we're looking at. And then Kels would come in with all the nitty-gritty through it. So it's been our MO for many years at this point.
So this is Chris. So I know this is a passion for you guys of doing these CEs. What makes your company different from other CE companies? And I know you've kind of mentioned what you kind of focus on with family stuff, but is there anything else that makes you guys stand out?
So this is Megan. So yes, we definitely really want to emphasize the family-friendly component. One of the big things that we have that's a bit different from a lot of the other conferences is we do offer childcare options. And the hotels that we stay at have some pretty cool child-based activities. Some of them have kids camps. And then aside from the family-friendly aspect, we do have the 15 hours of race-approved CE, which covers a lot of the state's CE requirements. We do a welcome reception for everybody, where your family and the person you traveled with are all welcome to attend. We do an included excursion. So like I mentioned earlier, for Tennessee, we did the Opry House tour behind the stage there, which was really, really neat. In Denver, we're going to do the Denver Zoo and check out the veterinary hospital there. And then in St. Thomas, we're doing Coral World, which will be super, super neat too. Aside from that, we obviously have these amazing specialists coming to speak for us. And I would say the other really big thing that sets us apart is we're asking people what they want. So we are trying to pull large groups of veterinarians. We're trying to pull the people that come to our events to figure out what makes them excited. What do you want to learn about? Where do you want to go? What can set us apart and help us continue to make this an event for you that you are stoked to come back next year?
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you guys have any plans for a wet lab or anything hands-on in the future?
I think that's one of our long-term goals for sure. I think including wet labs or even management classes or business or financial or kind of expanding out, even work-life balance kind of type classes, which obviously aren't there yet. But I think long-term we want to get there, even exotics or large animal. But right now we kind of just have to focus on the masses. But 5-10 years out, that's definitely the goal.
This is Brandon again. I think that's really exciting. That the big focus. I would thinking logically, focusing on the small animal folks makes sense, and it's good to give a lot of variety. And just out of curiosity, how many attendees do you typically have per event?
So this is Megan. So currently we are 20. I would say 20 to 30. Per event. Nashville was a little bit on the lower side. Punta Cana so far was smack dab in the middle. And Denver and St. Thomas are still growing. So we're hoping that they continue to grow. And, I think just kind of based on how everything's going at this point, I do believe St. Thomas is going to be a pretty larger conference. And when I say that, I mean 30, 40 people, just on the higher end there. We want to keep it small. We want to keep it intimate because we want people to enjoy the connections that they can make with the people that they go to the conference with or the people that they meet there. And we also really like that all of the specialists that are speaking are just as excited to meet the attendees and to form those relationships, because we think that's really important.
And this is Jeff again. And I wanted to ask, kind of like on a broader scale, like expectations, like as you kind of got into this and we're making these events, are there things that are meeting your expectations? You're like, oh, this is tough, but I'm just working through it. That makes sense. Or what things kind of surprised you, and what things are you really enjoying as a part of the process, and things that you were expecting or unexpected?
This is Kelsey. I would say one thing that I was expecting, and it's really meeting and exceeding my expectations, is how the small groups are interacting with the speakers. It's not roundtable discussion per se. They've still got their lectures, but the groups are small enough where you get people like asking a question in the middle of a lecture, and then it kind of leads down like a small another path, and other people are giving their experience. And it's been really cool to be in a lecture environment like that, where you're with these group of 20 to 30 people for 3 days in a row. So you kind of get to know each other and become comfortable. And I feel like people are asking a lot of good questions that other people had along the road. And that's not happening at these big conferences. So I've been very pleasantly surprised by that. I will say it's been really difficult to work with really large hotel companies with really big contracts, and I don't know anything legal. So we've hit some really rough patches when it comes to like legal stuff and working with big hotels that have huge event centers. And that's been one of our biggest difficulties so far in terms of like the events themselves.
Sure. And I appreciate on the intimacy side of things. So I'm in Durham World, of course, and our conference is nowhere near as big as like NAVC VMX size, but we still have like a couple hundred people who come to them, and they had roundtable events. And that was one of my favorite parts, which was like literally room full of 15 people on the topic, and like talking to these other specialists and collaborating, and some non-specialists, right? So just like, we're all out here in the field dealing with all these derm cases. We're all here to learn, and like learning from other people, from GPs, from technicians, and just having that collaboration was so much fun. And I feel like I get so much out of those events. And it sounds like that reflects a lot in your CE conferences, as far as like just having a smaller group of people to talk to. It's not just talking head speaking at a room full of 5,000 people, which has its time and place, but I like that you're offering something a little bit more unique in that aspect and more collaborative. So that's really, really excellent.
It feels a little bit more real life. It's not like ivory tower kind of thing, just lecturing at you. You know, you can ask real questions based on your real experience. And, you know, all the speakers we have are still practicing, so they're giving their experience, but we're also able to ask real life questions like, what do we do in this specific situation?
And I think because it is a smaller group, I know I get really nervous asking questions in front of people. So with the intimacy of that, I think people are more open, and they're just even a little bit more vulnerable, being like, hey, I've had a really tough time with this. What's something that could maybe turn it around? And I think that's been really neat to see.
I love that. And I feel like I get that a little bit when I'm on the phone with like general practitioners, or, you know, that's the easiest time for me to say, not get the intimate details of a case and nuances that just don't have their place in larger, big lecture halls, where you're like, well, here's one little thing that I do that I wouldn't necessarily, I don't want to sound like the rule of thumb for a certain case, but based on what you are talking about, like little group, like everybody kind of lean in. Here's what I would do in this scenario. Don't tell anybody. Like those are the nuggets that I think people really take home to the bank and provide a lot of value for these events.
Well, I think that's a good place to kind of start to round things out. The last thing that we just wanted to ask was, and this is for everybody, so not just Kelsey and Megan, but what would be your dream destination for one of your Veterinary Ventures CE events? And I can just jump in really quick just to say mine. I would love to go to the Galapagos one day. I don't know how you would do an event down there, but it would be really cool to travel out there and have that as a vacation spot and get some CE in at the same time. But that's just my personal one.
This is Chris. So Costa Rica, I would love to go there for a CE trip. ideally my place would be to go to New Zealand, but logistically to get out there for a trip for CE would be super hard from here. So in making it work, I think Costa Rica or even the Galapagos, I think would be more feasible to do.
This is Jeff. I was literally racking my brain for which beach I wanted to go to. Literally was thinking, I was like, Costa Rica. I did go to a beach once there when I was younger, and that was amazing. That was on my mind. I would probably have to say Puerto Rico at this time would be amazing. Relatable, pretty close. You don't need a passport. I've been a few times, and like that would be just chef's kiss.
So this is Megan. I actually, one of my top ones was Turks and Caicos, which we're doing this year, which is super exciting. And then also on my list would be Banff National Park. I think that would be a beautiful spot. Not on the beach, a little different atmosphere, but equally fun and pretty.
This is Kelsey. I'm a little bit torn. I'm going to go lean beach, and I was actually kind of thinking Costa Rica, Belize, like Central America, because it's so close. It's pretty much on the same time zone I am in Nashville, which is really nice and easy to get to. So I lean in that direction, but also I really have always wanted to go to Bora Bora.
Ooh.
So travel there would be really, really difficult, but I just think that would be so amazing to travel there and earn CE while doing it at the same time. So logistically, Central America, big dreams, Bora Bora.
I would go to any of those destinations if you guys hosted there. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kelsey and Dr. Megan, for being here with us. Is there anywhere that viewers or listeners can find you?
Yes. Instagram is just Veterinary Ventures CE. Facebook is the same thing. And then our website is same thing, veterinaryenventuresce.com.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for listening to the Dogtor Bros. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to your podcasts. We will love you forever. And it would also be helpful for us to share this episode with anyone who you think would be interested in this episode. And you can tell us what you want to hear. So just drop suggestions in the comments or shoot us an email at thedogtorbros@gmail.com or DM us at thedogtorbros on Instagram. You can reach me on Instagram at drmasonim.
And this is Chris. You can reach me on Instagram at dr.chrishernandez.
And this is Jeff. You can find me on TikTok or Instagram at DrmDrJeff, DermDogtorJeff.